A lot of people have trouble with food portions, how much we eat at any given time. I'm no different. My mum instilled in me the idea that I have to finish everything on my plate in order to be grateful for the food compared with people worldwide that don't have food. And I've struggled with that all my life. That belief has stuck with me, and I overeat. I eat anything that's put in front of me. Why do we eat is an important question. We eat for two reasons. The first reason is called homeostatic motivation. That's where your body wants to eat to get the energy and the nutrients in order to meet its requirements to keep you alive. The second motivation is called hedonic, and that simply means we eat for the pleasure of it, or we eat because of our belief systems. The pleasure of it is the reward system that we hold in place. It's like a drug. We feel good when we eat certain foods. You finish eating a meal and you feel totally full until a dessert walks past you, and you look at that and go, I have to have that. And you will overeat even to the point of feeling sick. So is it our fault that we fall into those sort of traps? And the answer to that is probably no. We're all pre-programmed and pre-wired to eat food when it is available. That's from an ancestral or evolutionary point of view. And that is good, except when all this food comes through. And to some extent, the food landscape has dramatically changed in the last 20 to 40 years. Chickens, for example, are more than 50% bigger now than what they were in your parents' or your grandparents' day. If you look at a convenience food like a hamburger, more than 100% increase in regard to modern hamburgers, calorie count, fat count, and everything else. If you look at the food manufacturers' selling campaigns and marketing, supersizing everything and adding foodstuffs together as a meal rather than just sticking with one meal. Even restaurants and cafes have got involved in it to some extent. The plates and the bowls that they use are much bigger than what they used to be used going back a generation or two. But we expect the amount of food to cover the plate to the same extent. And so we need to be more conscious about our brain's perception of food. Our brain is responsible for controlling our appetite and our hunger, and it does that by regulating our food intake based on its perception. The weight of the food and the volume of the food and how long it takes to eat the food, how chewy it is, are all factors that come into play. And to some extent, we can trick our brain into eating less if that's one of our problem areas. So most people have heard about using smaller plates. The visual effect of filling up a smaller plate as opposed to filling up a larger plate tricks the brain into eating less, but the improvement can be anywhere up to 20 to 30% less food, less energy value that we're taking in, which is absolutely massive. But it's not by using a bread and butter plate. The difference in the plates is simply too small. You recognise that and perceive it, and then therefore you lose some of the benefits. So just reducing the plate in a reasonable amount rather than a dramatic amount. The same thing holds true for bowls. They're way bigger than what they used to be, and we suffer the same problem. So reducing the size of your soup bowl will be the same. Even the glasses, if you're drinking, most people know that a tall, narrow glass, you'll consume less compared with a short, wide glass. The savings are anywhere from 15 to 25% volume of calories, energy, or whatever you want to measure. Particularly important for us red wine drinkers to keep that in mind. Also, the colour of the plate is important. The contrast. We serve food on white plates, and food is pretty colourful, and the contrast between the two stimulates our appetite to eat more. They've found that coloured plates, particularly blue or a brown, tends to decrease your appetite because there's less contrast, less colour. The size of your spoon when you have soups, for example, can give you a 5 to 10% improvement in terms of eating less compared with eating soups with a large spoon. We've talked about trying to trick your brain by having some water or salad or soup before a meal. As long as you're careful about your soup and your salad, then that absolutely holds true. And again, your savings can be anywhere between 5 to 15% less food volume and calorie energy overall. But even the manner in which you eat food, they've looked at people eating the same food standing up in a cocktail environment where you're picking and eating and chatting, as opposed to the same food, same volume at a seated environment like a formal dinner where you're also drinking and chatting. And they've found anywhere from a 10 to 20% less food consumption when you're seated compared with when you're standing and not paying attention.